Hi, Father O'Brien here. Just want to invite you to an exciting opportunity to deepen your spiritual life, the spiritual exercises of St. Ignatius of Loyola. So the Santa Clara Alumni Association, in partnership with the Jesuit School of Theology, the Graduate Program in Pastoral Ministries, and the Jesuit Retreat House up at Los Altos, are joining together to offer for our alumni in the Santa Clara community an experience of the spiritual exercises of St. Ignatius. So let me explain a little bit about what the spiritual exercises are. These are essentially exercises for the soul that St. Ignatius of Loyola devised way back in the 1500s based on his own conversion experience, his own encounter with God that really transformed his life from a knight at court to serving as a pilgrim, as an itinerant preacher, and then ultimately that would lead him to studies, and then ultimately to establishing the Society of Jesus and their commitments to help people in all walks of life and eventually all around the world. But it really began with that transformative experience of encountering God very personally and deeply. And he recorded notes of that experience, and that became this book called the Spiritual Exercises, or these exercises for the soul. And they really are that. If you were to see the book, it would read a bit like a cookbook, like a how-to guide. Nothing very inspirational. As you read it, it can be very dry, because the exercises were to be lived more than read. And to be prayed through. And so during this experience, over the course of 8 months, spiritual directors will guide you through the course of the exercises. And these exercises are just essentially different ways of praying, using the mind, the intellect, using the imagination, using centering prayer or quiet prayer, prayer of the heart. So really, you in a sense, the exercises are a school of prayer, which is really one of the greatest gifts. But above all, what's the point? Where does it lead you? And Ignatius was clear that God meets with each person personally, and intimately and directly. He described his own experience as God was meeting me as a school teacher works with a pupil or a student. Sort of a beautiful, very personal image of God. In a sense, that's where God meets you. God is laboring in every person's life differently. And so in the exercises, God meets you where you're at. And we do the same. Your spiritual directors or spiritual companions, God meets you just where you are at. And therefore, because every person is different, we have to be very flexible about what the exercises look like, and how people pray and how they express themselves, and so the exercises, although there's sort of a plan, they're extremely flexible. And so the retreat is set up to allow you to have sort of personal contact with one of your directors, but also to meet as a group, because you're not walking alone. One of the beautiful graces, or one of the beautiful gifts of the exercises is, for Ignatius and for hopefully all of us, is that we grow in interior freedom. We become free of all that stuff that gets in the way of our becoming the person God calls us to be. And the exercises gives you different tools, above all, in encountering your God in the person of Jesus Christ in a new way. By praying the exercises, by contemplating the Gospels and other parts of the Bible, and also by learning the rules for the discernment of spirits, as Ignatius called them. You learn about what discernment is like. And discernment is simply making decisions in which God is part of the conversation. So you learn how to discern the movements of your heart, how to discern making good decisions in freedom, in interior freedom, free of all the stuff that gets in the way of the person God is calling us to become, so that we then can be of greater service and help to others. And that ultimately is the end of the exercises. We leave the exercises with a conviction to want to help people, to serve people, And some of us may be trying to figure that out, and that's a wonderful reason to pray the exercises. We can serve in small ways or maybe larger ways. We maybe need to make a big decision about our life, or we just maybe want to make a decision about how we live our lives, or we just want to grow closer to God. We want to grow in faith, hope, and love, and that's a great reason to make the exercises. So there'll be more to share about what the exercises are and what this program in the exercises look like. It's not for everyone, and it's also, there are different ways of praying, but it's worth exploring. Also, the time has to be right, because it is quite a commitment to pray these exercises over the course of 8 months or so. So I invite you to consider the exercises and to learn more. So thanks for your consideration. Take care and God bless.